When you start a business, the idea is great. The legal part of it, it's not so fun.
Not as great. Who's excited for that? Oh, yeah.
Probably the lawyer that you're paying.
Well,
Yeah. And actually, Adam's wife, lawyer, is open for business.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
She's not, though. She can't. She
Oh,
can't work for
so
she can't.
instead, is there a product we should use instead of your wife?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's crazy.
Oh.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
It's called LegalZoom.
Whoa!
Now, LegalZoom is a place where you can go to get everything that you need. And when you start a business, no matter what business you're in, hey, you know it's crazy. You won't even realize sometimes the legal stuff that you need, the policies you need to put in place.
nearly all the time.
Mostly all the time. LegalZoom helps business owners like you take the first step and every step after with reliable business formation to experience guidance in legal and tax. And tax is important.
Yes.
You don't want to not have your tax stuff sorted out. Setting up your business properly, LegalZoom is the way. LegalZoom.com, you can take care of all your business legal needs. And what's great is over the last 20 years, LegalZoom has helped start, run, and protect millions of businesses. And if you want to launch, run, and protect your business, make it official today at LegalZoom.com and use this promo code DANGLE to get 10% off any LegalZoom business formation product, excluding subscriptions and renewals. This expires at the end of the year, so December the 31st of 2024. Get everything you need to set up success at LegalZoom.com and use the promo code DANGLE. That's LegalZoom.com. Use the promo code DANGLE for 10% off. LegalZoom provides access to independent attorneys and self-advice tools. LegalZoom is not a law firm and does not provide legal advice except where authorized through its subsidiary law firm, LZ Legal Services, LLC.
Say the tagline. Don't hire my wife. Hire LegalZoom.
Oh, that's right.
I don't think.
Let's start the show.
The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Hey, so Manny, can you just do a quick ISO shot on me here? I want to throw this out there at you. I don't know if you can see this.
Don't! It's a puck!
That
sorry.
would hurt.
Frontenac Sarnia Sting Steve Dangle podcast game. It was on an official OHL puck. Can you believe that?
I love that very much.
Isn't
very
that neat?
dearly.
Yeah, pretty neat.
And it gives me another goofy little collector's item to hang on the wall.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, you need more.
I do. It's never enough.
You have a house full of walls. You got to fill them with something.
Any collector knows it's never enough.
No, 100%, 100%. It was an amazing time in Kingston. Thank you to everybody that came. Thank you to the Kingston Frontenacs for having us. And Jacob Battaglia, you got to check out that interview with Jacob Battaglia. This guy he's legit.
Yeah.
Confidence, man. Second round pick, Calgary Flames. Flames fans, I think you're in for a treat. This guy rocks.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I care for the kid.
Why? Because he's not a Flame? Or because he's not a Leaf?
No, because we get up there on stage and we do a lovely interview with him, and then we do the rest of our show. But he goes in the back.
Oh, yes.
And after our show, before we do our meet and greet, I was so excited to eat the shrimp tacos that I ordered from the Caesar Company, only to discover he ate them. He ate all of them. He ordered shrimp tacos as well, and you might be like, oh, he just mistook so just eat his. No, he ate 6 shrimp tacos. That's not true. He ate 5 entire shrimp tacos and took a bite out of the last one and left it.
I think he thought all 6 were his order.
Yes.
Or that you could just eat whatever was on the table.
Yeah, or
No.
it was like, hey, this is for everybody in the back.
I thought that until I saw the one with the bite out of it that he left there. That he left that as a calling card.
No, I think
he was big dogging me.
I think he got full.
No, he knew. He knew, and he wanted me to know.
How angry are you that you didn't get to eat?
Not angry. You know what was
not
really
true.
funny? Listening to the
You should
CJ
lie
show.
more.
Yeah, I should lie more. Fat guy corner. You know what was funny? Listening to the CJ show on the ride home and our Peloton ad while I ate onion rings. That was great.
Well, listen, it's all about, setting a path for you.
Yeah, you
right?
ride the Peloton so that you can eat onion rings.
That's exactly why I do it. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it's a fun interview, a great night in Kingston. We had a blast, and we can't wait to do it again with the Fronts next year.
Can't wait.
Just an awesome group, and they do such a great job of integrating the SDP and its fans into their games, and so it's awesome. We love Kingston, and that was a lot of fun. So a lot has happened though since our last formal show in the studio. We had a Jacob Trouba trade. We had a Kevyn Adams press conference. We had a Shesterkin contract. We have the Leafs and the Devils tonight, so we got a Sheldon Keefe back to Toronto interview that we got to rip through, and there was also a Tortorella ripping the Bruins for diving. There's a lot. So let's start with the fact that the Rangers lost to the 5 losses in a row Chicago Blackhawks last night. I want to throw this at you. Arthur Staple just wrote a blistering column in The Athletic. It just says, Staple, Rangers hit rock bottom with no fight and no effort in New York.
Are they not still in a playoff spot?
They are. They're 4th in the Metro.
That's crazy.
Now, he said the Rangers, desperately in need of wins, were outworked by the Hawks. They were outpositioned all over the ice. As they've done too often through 27 games this year, the Rangers decided trading chances was the way forward rather than sustaining some offensive zone time and shoring up defensive zone play. Here's the stat that's going to blow your mind. They gave up just 2 goals. They gave up just 2 goals because this was the Hawks, a team that has scored more than 3 goals once in its last 15 games. So,
oh my God.
So we could talk about the Hawks. The CJ Show did a great breakdown about what's going on in Chicago. But for now, the Rangers traded Jacob Trouba. They traded him before a 3-game and 4-night stint.
Yep.
Shesterkin, obviously, I believe his wife just had a baby, so he was missing, but last night he was back, at least on the bench. Okay. And the Rangers don't look great, man. Guys, some of the other things that Staple mentioned is K-Andre Miller has stopped progressing. Yep. Adam Fox still hasn't scored a goal.
Adam Fox?
Adam Fox, Norris winner, 27 games into the season, has not scored a goal.
Man.
Now, this is where I can understand why the Rangers wanted to get out from Trouba's $8 million. I get it. They signed him to too much money. He's not the guy. They also didn't have him playing a role that he was playing in Winnipeg, right? He was playing a much different role in Winnipeg. But at what point do we say, what point do Caps fans, to what point do Preds fans tell the New York Rangers what might be the problem, which might be the coach?
I'm not as convinced.
Okay. Because Caps fans are saying it. They're like, oh, we know that guy.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. He could definitely be part of the problem. Here's why I don't love that narrative. They won the President's Trophy last year. They went to the conference final with that coach. Mm-hmm. So what I talked about last night, and by some of the response, I don't think I articulated my point well, is so the Rangers were, like I said, President's Trophy Final 4 last season, and they're on their way to screwing up a pretty damn good thing. And they're like, well, no, they don't want that pretty damn good thing that's obviously not good enough to get stagnant. And look at them. They're not playing well and da-da-da-da-da. And that's true. That's all very true. I think the Rangers are ripe for a transition on the fly here. Moving off of Kreider, I think would hurt. It's not the worst idea. CJ sort of threw water on that on his
He said
show.
he thinks he's safe.
He's safe,
but it's New York, man.
Because they got rid of Trouba, though. Had they not gotten rid of Trouba, they would have had to get rid of him. Trading Jacob Trouba off your roster at $8 million when he's playing third pair, even if he's your captain, is objectively the correct thing to do. Locking up Igor Shesterkin, we can talk about the dollar amount, but locking up the best goalie in the league is objectively a smart thing to do. But I can't help but feel like at some point, maybe not in the summer, because they started well, but at some point during this season, the organization poisoned the well.
If you read the columns, a lot of people are saying that started with Barclay Goodrow and the way he was treated on the way up.
Yes.
And that's still a contract that I would defend the Rangers dropping off of, because the day it was signed, it was not a good contract.
It's
for the Rangers.
It's
But he was a popular guy.
Says who? Like,
Well,
okay,
he didn't bring the value for the $3 million or $3.5
bullshit. I call bullshit on that.
Do you?
Yeah. Regular season. Yeah, no, that you're a crazy person to give him that amount of money. But how many times are we going to do this with Barclay Goodrow? When the Lightning got him, they paid a first-round pick, and we're like, what, are you nuts? And then they won back-to-back cups with him. And he was part of that. And then he rode that to a very big contract with the Rangers that was disastrous. Oh, wait, no, sorry. They actually had like crazy success. And he was like a very consistent playoff performer. We streamed the Rangers-Panthers series. Rangers probably get outplayed almost every game of that series, if not all of them. But they had a 2-1 lead after 3. And Barclay Goodrow was probably their best, or most clutch player at very least in those 3 games. I think what the Rangers are doing is video game business, and it can go well for you, and it can go poorly for you. The Vegas Golden Knights, just cold-blooded, right? And we've talked about that. We've talked about how the league should have never let those guys win because now every team is going to try to be them. It doesn't always work the way it's worked in Vegas. These are people. These are human beings. They get their feelings hurt. And you might be like, well, they're millionaires and they're professionals. A lot of those guys have been there for a very long time. A lot of the Rangers, the most important Rangers, have been there since before the Vegas Golden Knights were a franchise. And they're looking at how their friends are being treated. Veterans, leaders on this team. They didn't bring in Barclay Goodrow to win the Art Ross, right? And that's how he's treated? Look at the playoff he had. Like, you could talk about the team falling short. Was it because of him? Okay, so...
I mean, they didn't like the way they went out against the Panthers, but the Panthers were phenomenal.
They won the cup. They were pretty good. There's only one team who gets to do that every year. Like, most teams would kill to be in the position of the New York Rangers. And before anyone starts comparing how I'm talking about the Rangers to how I talk about the Leafs have never got close. They've never won a President's Trophy, despite being every year, good regular season team, adequate regular season team. And yeah, I mean, they're in an incredible division. I don't give a shit. Like, they're in that division every year.
You know who
wins?
You
noticed?
You know who wins their division? The Panthers.
Yeah. And the Lightning. And
yeah.
Oh, well,
Boston.
Sorry. And the Leafs have won, like, I didn't bring this up, but Jacob Battaglia, who we were interviewing, Flames second round pick, he's born in 2006. Leafs have won one series in that kid's lifetime. One. So, no, they're not the same, actually. The Rangers have been to the Final Four twice in the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. That's extremely good. I think they poisoned the well here. Maybe some of the older guys are getting a little too old. It's possible. But again, they were elite 7-8 months ago? 9? Max?
They were 2 wins away
from the Stanley Cup final
6 months ago. Yeah.
So I gotta think the organization wears this. And Jacob Trouba, like, getting fired from MSG is a rite of passage. There's no way Jacob Trouba, who I think is probably a pretty popular teammate, there's no way he's the only Ranger in that room who thinks that, who has that feeling. It's hard to give your best for a boss you hate. Like, let's look at the Panthers, right? Since they're the current standard bearer. Who's the boss? Like, who is the... We all know the leader of the team is, well, the captain is Barkov. Their
spiritual leader, I'd say, is Matthew Tkachuk. Like, just in terms of like chaos, Barkov's the captain.
Yeah,
and he's a good man, and Matthew Tkachuk is chaos driver for other teams.
The pillar,
yeah.
Right? I think it's Paul Maurice.
Yeah, they love him.
They love him, and the Panthers are a very in the room team. If that makes sense. There's none of the bullshit. You never really feel Bill Zito permeating through the room or ownership.
You rarely hear Bill Zito's name.
Right. Panthers are very in the room. With the Rangers, there's a lot of Chris Drury banter. That's one of the things I love about Brad Treliving. We barely talk about him. But there's a lot of Chris Drury banter, and their owner is a nutcase. A certifiable nutcase.
Well, I don't know if you guys heard this. Somebody said, yeah, I've heard him in the last few days referred to as passionate and emotional in 2 different shows. And I'm like, okay, so this means that this guy doesn't react well to any sort of negativity. Like, that sounds like a horrible thing. That is a nice way to say what we really want to say, which is this guy flies off the fucking handle and it throws people.
Yeah. Passionate, like, no, I resent him being called passionate.
Yeah, because passionate can be a bunch of different things. Here's what I look at, guys, and Jesse, I want to bring you in on this because this is your team. Okay, you've got a core of, just think about this: Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere, Kreider, Zibanejad. I would put Philip Hedl in there up front. And then you got Lindgren, who's a free agent.
Philip Hedl, who they barely had last year.
Yeah. Lindgren, Fox, K-Andre Miller, Braden Schneider. And then you've got Shesterkin in net and Jonathan Quick, who is a renaissance man. He's pushing 40 and still playing like this.
It's crazy.
This is a very good hockey team, right? Like, statistically speaking, you put that up, like NHL 25 that's a pretty fucking good team, man.
On paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, like, to me, is Trouba going to change the fact that, last night specifically, Arthur Staple points out that Zibanejad gave away the puck in like an egregious way, and it led to the first goal, and Chris Kreider's not playing out. It feels like if there's poison in the well, guys, Chris Drury has no choice but to make another move.
Right now, it's too easy for their opponents because if you look at their stats over the last 10 games, this stretch from their last 10 games, which is about November 20th onwards, they're last in the NHL. They've only had 4 points in that span, which is like below Nashville, who's in second last, and they've had 5 points in that span.
Jeez.
Yep.
And if you look at that little stretch there, their PDO is bad. Where they're sitting at like a 96, 97 in terms of their PDO for them. And then their opponent's PDO is at 105. Like, so they're allowing their opponents, which is just the shooting percentage and save percentage, they're allowing their opponents to get really easy chances. And everything that their opponents want and can take from them on the ice, it's going in. And for me, because the team overall, too, on the entire season, doesn't have like too bad of stats. You look at where they sit in penalty kill, they're right up at the top. Power play, they're like 10th-ish. Same with goals for and goals against. They're in the middle tier. It's just this last little stretch. It feels like an effort standpoint. It's about commitment to the defensive end, commitment to not committing turnovers. And I'm not sure if changing the head coach solves that, because it doesn't feel like it's a giving up on the coach here in this situation. It feels like a giving up of just playing hockey the right way.
Right.
It seems like somebody there needs to get the mentality of the overall team and all of those guys you listed, those star players, to just play a commitment to hockey that we see in the playoffs during that Florida series where they were up 2-1 on the back of Barclay Goudreau scoring a game-winning goal and then like a shorthanded goal. Like his 3 goals in 3 games there to start that series.
Insane.
So, and you know what?
Unbelievable stuff.
Each goal was worth $1 million. Right?
Sure.
Right? I mean, listen, they got the Panthers a couple extra home dates in the playoffs.
Sure.
Yeah, but like you know what they're capable of in those moments. And the Trouba trade, trading your captain, is supposed to be that moment where things get serious.
Yes.
That's I'm the general manager. I'm moving off of the captain for the long-term success of this team. I'm going to sign the goaltender. He's here. Everybody's committed. Now, guys, go show up. Like I did the thing where we fire the head coach and you get in. Now it's on you. They sent your captain away. And the fact that they still don't get the effort out of that against Chicago, it's very concerning.
And Chicago's reeling too. Like it's not just that they're in last place. They're in last place and they just fired their coach. They have a new guy back there.
Who doesn't have the full backing of the franchise. He's the interim guy.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, their top line isn't even what they want it to be. They're waiting for, I think, Joey Anderson to go through waivers so they can call up Frank Nazar.
Yep.
Connor, I tweeted this, and Blackhawks fans were like, "Can you not?" Connor Bedard's line mates have 5 goals combined.
Yeah.
It's Philip Kurashev and Ilya Mikheyev. Ilya Mikheyev, who has fallen ass backwards into the craziest line mate situations
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
Like, that guy played a bunch with like John Tavares. He played with Elias Pettersson. And now here he is playing with Connor Bedard.
Yep.
Guy can't score.
No.
He did once. And then Vancouver was like, he's going to do this forever. And they gave him millions of dollars and shut it off immediately.
Well, and sorry to cough.
Shut up.
Not to go to the Blackhawks right now, because I want to bring up one quick thing with the Rangers.
Yeah, sorry.
We will talk about the Blackhawks quickly because I think we can. But, the Rangers right now, guys, have $7.1 million in cap space, okay? 7.14 if you want to get crazy. By the deadline, it'll be triple that. It'll be close to $22 million. 21.935 if you want to get crazy. Mm-hmm. There's another move coming here, or another couple moves.
You would think so.
Yeah, I would think so. Now, they do have a cap crunch next year, but this is a prime, let's grab some guys. And I don't know if it's smart for the Rangers to, and I actually don't know the answer. Do you try to figure it out with the group you have right now and then at the deadline add, or do you add now and try to boost them now?
Sorry, what do the Rangers have next year?
In terms of contracts they have to re-sign?
Yeah, they have a cap crunch?
Capo Caco, Will Cooley, K-Andre Miller, Ryan Lindgren is a 26-year-old defenseman. He's on the left, but he's a UFA as well.
Ryan
Shesterkin's.
I'm on the camp now. Ryan Lindgren's replaceable. You could probably send him out.
Yeah, okay. And then you got Shesterkin, whose contract kicks in, so there's an extra 6 because he's making 5.6 right now, and people are like, well, that's 11.5. It's really only 6 million based on in terms of cap jump, right? So the cap will probably jump by 5 or 6 million anyway.
This is what I said with Willie.
They'll be okay.
Hey,
they already have to pay him. It's crazy.
They don't have a cap crunch next year.
Not anymore.
No, they'll just guillotine someone else if they have to. And I think there's some cope out there that I'm seeing about no one's going to sign with the Rangers now. People will still definitely sign with the Rangers. It's the Rangers. It's Manhattan.
Oh yeah,
it's a cap team.
This is only teams in great markets can be this ruthless.
But I do think it's a thought. It's a consideration. If you watch the TSN broadcast, the Sportsnet broadcast, I don't know how it was received in the States, but all the former players are like, hey, it's a little messed up. You can do this, huh? And I don't think the rule is going away, the ability to put guys on waivers. And I'm not necessarily advocating for it to go away. I don't think the players are necessarily either. I think they're just like, damn, this was a line that people didn't cross before, or GMs didn't cross before, and now they are. Mm-hmm. Now it's open season.
Well, and remember, it's probably less about the no trade / waive and more about the memo that went out to 31 other general managers going, please take this man or this man now.
Yeah, I'm Chris Kreider. I'm going to break my friggin' neck out there for this team. I've been here for how long? Played how many playoff games for you and been your best player in a lot of them? And this is how I'm treated? Fuck you.
Yeah. I have one bad stretch for a couple of months, and now I'm gone.
Not even that bad.
Yeah.
He's not getting assists.
Now, I will.
But he's scoring.
The other side of this, I said this last week, is and I don't know, Jesse, Steve, what you guys think here. I personally respect the Rangers on one thing, and that is they're not going to accept this crap.
Yep.
And I said this last week. I'll say it again. If this was happening in Toronto, we'd be gaslit to hell about it. It would be, well, you don't know and you're not smart enough in so many words. And the Rangers are going, nope, we expect to be first and we're going to do something about it. Now, did they go about it the right way, the political way, whatever? Absolutely not. But I think that at the end of the day, at least they're willing to take action.
Yeah, with this whole conversation, the one thing you haven't brought up is that the actual trade, and they won the trade and were paid to dump $8 million that they didn't want.
Right.
Like Anaheim gave them a fourth and an asset to dump the $8 million, and that's great business from a strictly what they were trying to accomplish standpoint. The New York Rangers did a great job with this trade.
Do you remember what it cost the Leafs to get rid of Patrick Marleau's $6 million?
It was
First,
That's right.
first that got the Hurricane Seth Jarvis.
Who is now on the Four Nations roster.
Jacob Trouba is a useful player for the Ducks.
Yes.
Like that's what they want, and they're gonna get rid of Cam Fowler eventually. So the money doesn't really look that much troubling because you're getting $6 million off, and you brought in $8 million for Trouba, and Trouba's going to be an effective defenseman for them. But the Rangers didn't want him or need him and couldn't hold on to him going forward because they needed that $8 million. So the fact that they were able to get something for him I think it's a fantastic trade for their end.
Also lost in this conversation, it's horrible timing, but it's one game against the Blackhawks.
Mm-hmm.
You don't win all 82.
No. I think
It was in Madison Square Garden. It's horrible timing. You don't feel good about it. You're never happy about losing to the last place team. It's one regular season game in December. You'll live.
Yeah, a Blackhawks team who was playing for something at that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rangers should have also been.
Yeah. but no, like every team's an NHL team. Like every night isn't just a cakewalk. You know, you're facing somebody good and you can lose any game. We've seen that a million times with Toronto. And just to update you, Nazar makes his debut against the Islanders tonight, I
there you
believe,
go.
for the Blackhawks.
The season debut.
good for him. He's been lighting it up.
No, it would be career, wouldn't it? Did he play last year?
I think he had like a cup of coffee at the end of last year.
Ah,
I'm going to look it up.
Okay, so this bothers me.
Yeah, he had 3 games last year.
Yeah.
oh, he got 3. Okay.
There are I'm so proud, very, very, very few mistakes made it into the book. And one of them was I mixed up Nazar with Korchinski
Oh.
for Blackhawks prospects.
Oh.
I know. It pissed me off.
What did you say?
I think I just screwed up which one was picked 13th and which one was picked 7th.
Oh, that's not too bad.
It's
I was
yeah,
gonna
but it's
say-
a mistake, and
I
I'm
was
mad
gonna
about
say,
it.
If you did the Nick Robertson, like he's a defenseman thing, because Korchinski plays deep.
Oh, no, I
right?
didn't do that.
Oh, okay. Then that's not a big deal at all.
So the other thing is people were quick to point out that, okay, so the Ducks got Trouba, so now what? And what was hilarious to me about this is the lack of imagination that people have when it comes to this. Now, I'll tell you this, from what I have heard, the Ducks are not an easy organization to play for right now either.
That team's miserable too.
Greg Cronin is, the rumors are that the players don't really like him. Pat Verbeek, the scuttlebutt is not a fun guy to work for. And I'm not sure what he's like to deal with on a trade to trade angle, but
well, apparently
he's not a popular man,
right?
within certain circles. And you know what? Hey, listen, if you're going to be at that level, I'm sure there are going to be people that don't like you. But things aren't going great with the Ducks right now. Trouba made his debut. He played 22 minutes. He seemed to be strong enough. But what I would say that people are missing with the Trouba situation is, and CJ pointed this out beautifully on the CJ show, if the Ducks want to parlay him into something of value at this deadline, because he has another year, all they have to do is retain half of what is paid. And by the way, it's not $8 million, it's actually $6 million in real dollars. So, you know, Trouba at $4 million against your cap, especially next year when we're expecting a jump of $4 or $5 million, a lot of teams, I think it was CJ pointed out, Lyubushkin is making 3.75 or something for the Dallas Stars.
Right-handed defensemen make a shitload of money.
And Trouba at $4 million on most teams is a pretty good guy to have if he's playing second or third pair. And at $4 million bucks, man, you could probably get a lot of assets back. For the Ducks, this is let's parlay this guy into something else. This is not I don't think this is a long-term fit. If it is, good for him. But and it's interesting because Steve Simmons of the Toronto Sun brought up, oh, well, Toronto's super interested. Steve, he's not coming to Toronto. He doesn't want to play in Canada. But there is going to be, okay, and that has more to do with his wife's career than anything. It's not
which he
not 'cause
values.
He likes Canada. Which he values. Crazy story. I think that this guy ends up in some sort of trade Maybe he wants to play in the West, so maybe he stays on the West Coast. Maybe the Kings pick him up. Maybe like some team picks him up before the end of the season or next season.
So his no move goes with him.
Yeah, of course. It used to be that if you waived a no move, it was gone forever, or no trade. You waive it, you go to the team, it's still in place.
I don't know. For his sake, I hope he gets to go where he wants, man. Like,
well, he will in a couple of years when he's a free agent.
We're talking about a guy who had a modified no trade. He exercised it fairly, like negotiated for it in good faith, exercised it fairly, was strong-armed, got moved, and now we're talking about moving him again. I know he's a millionaire. I know he's got a great life, but it's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Why is it bullshit?
Yeah.
Because he negotiated for the damn thing in good faith, and the Rangers said, hey, so the Rangers nakedly said for the entire players union, this is worthless. This no trade clause is absolutely worthless. We've always known it was somewhat performative. Like,
well, because they can make life hell for you.
Yeah, it's basically the hey, if you want to get, or if we want to trade you, let's figure it out clause, more than a no trade clause. But he tried to use it literally, which is the way you're supposed to use it. Mm-hmm. He negotiated it in good faith. He exercised it in good faith. The Rangers said that doesn't matter, actually. They traded him, and now we're talking about trading him again.
Well, he should have negotiated for a no move. Keep himself off waivers. That is a conversation, if I'm Jake Trouba, I'm having with my agent going, what the hell happened there?
He also did get to use his rights in this deal because he blocked a trade to Columbus on Friday.
And Buffalo.
And he said, I'm not going to either of those destinations. I'm going to choose Anaheim.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I it's not that I don't feel bad for his like family situation, but when it comes to a contract, you knew when you signed that this was possible. It just didn't seem possible.
All right. Also, if you lived up to $8 million, you'd still be in New York.
Yeah. I mean, well, I'm not entirely sure of that. Maybe. Barclay Goodrow, did he have a no move or a no trade?
He had a no trade 15 team. And so here's what's interesting about this.
Someone
and Alan,
see that, tell him to fuck himself.
So we had a really great episode of Agent Provocateur because Alan messaged us beforehand. He's like, I got stuff to say about this.
Of course he did.
And Alan's contention is not that.
Alan's contentious?
No, his argument is not that the Rangers did anything wrong per se on the no trade front. His thing was when you call another team the way that the Rangers did with Mike Greer in San Jose, and we know. The Rangers called Mike Greer, and they said, we want to work out a trade. And Mike Greer's like, great, we'd love Barclay Goodrow. Barclay Goodrow blocks it. And guess who's first up to claim him? The San Jose Sharks. He said, when you go to a team and you go, hey, you're going to claim this guy if we waive him, right? That he thinks is tampering. That is outside the bounds of the
circumvention.
Or cap circumvention. Yeah. Tampering's later on in the show with Ann Lauer. So I thought that was an interesting perspective because you're essentially organizing the way out. We're going to trade you to this team or they're going to waive you. Mm-hmm. And he said that's the circumvention part for him. It's not that, this whole idea that, oh, well, if they have a no trade clause, they can't get waived to those teams either. No, that'll never work. The NHL will never go for that. That's bad business. And by the way, for anybody that wants an exciting trade deadline, you're gonna need these clauses to remain the way they are.
I don't disagree with Ellen at all in that when all the GMs or 32 of them are together and they're like, hey, don't claim this guy because I'm working with a trade with this team and I want to put this guy on waivers. That feels like collusion. Like it definitely feels it feels illegal that they can all just collude together to make a fake trade happen through waivers. Mm-hmm. That doesn't feel like the spirit of what the CBA is written for. The idea of putting a guy on waivers and then just going, yeah, if somebody claims him, then we'll work out something afterwards. That seems a little better, but the doing something beforehand that you actually talk to the GM about and like, we're going to circumvent the actual contract with waivers, that it feels a little weird.
We're in a new era here where it's no move or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Yeah. You have a no trade clause
Well, you can have a 15-team no trade and a no move, and the no move is no waiver,
Yes.
right? You can do that.
Yeah, but not
Put
a lot
that
of
in.
guys have that, right? Like, and you got to leave. Okay, well, if you want this thing, you got to leave money on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Hey, so there's
tough.
in Agent Provocateur, there's a great story that Alan has about Patrick Eliash and how he almost signed with the Rangers and how Muckler screwed it up. And it has to do with no trade / no move clauses. I think you're going to love that story. So definitely check that out. Now, we have to get to the BetMGM big story, and we will come back to the Rangers. But I just want to ask you guys this question before we go to it. Do you think, if you were the general manager of the New York Rangers, that you would have done anything differently?
Oh man.
Because I don't think a lot of people are asking themselves that. Now, I'll tell you what I would say, because I just asked you this question. I had time to think about it. You guys haven't. I wouldn't have made it so public. They were intentionally public in the summer. They were leaking it to columnists, doing all that stuff. That part I thought was disrespectful to Jake Trouba.
They tried to paint him as the bad guy for literally standing up for his contractual rights and supporting his family.
Yes. Yeah. It's the same thing that happened to Matt's here in Toronto when Matt Sundin refused to waive his no trade to go to Philadelphia so the Leafs could get, I think it was like Jeff Carter and a first round pick.
Do you remember the interview about there was a rumor about him going to Montreal?
No.
And so someone goes, Matt, you hear the rumor? He goes, no, what's that? And they go, that you're going to Montreal? And the veil dropped. He goes, oh, fuck. He said it on camera.
Amazing. So do you guys think you would have done anything different other than those things?
I think the answer is that you had a good answer there. Would have done it less publicly. Still would have done it. And for anyone who thinks that's harsh, imagine be the GM of the New York Rangers.
Jesse?
I would have done it in the summer.
Yeah?
I feel like if you're going to pressure him at this point and get it all done and wrapped up, you should have just done this in early August, late July. Should have done it.
When that Detroit deal was on the table too.
Or like the Anaheim deal. Just do this one in August. Like, I feel like that would have been the better time to do it. You get it out of the way. There's no distraction in season for the guys. You have to get them all riled up to play hockey again without their captain, all that kind of stuff. You get it done in the summer, you move forward, you start training camp fresh, no captain, or you name somebody new, and then you get a good start to the season. I feel like the timing of it is poor.
There you go.
Your job, beginning, middle, end, is make the New York Rangers as good as possible. And by leaving this until over a quarter of the way through the season, you didn't do that job.
Now you're trying to make Trouba kind of the scapegoat in the contract situation, all this mess that's for the start. Like, it's very poor timing by Drury in the front office.
There you go. All right. Let's get to the BetMGM big story. Okay, so I want to read you this tweet to start things off for our BetMGM big story segment. This is from Chris Jastrombaski. He's the TNT researcher for the NHL.
Goodness.
This guy's amazing. On Colorado trading Georgiev and Annunen. First time in NHL history that a team has traded both opening night goalies before Christmas.
Wow.
The last time a team traded both opening night goalies by the end of the regular season was Buffalo in 14-15, and that was Jonas Enroth and Michael Neuwirth, which is wild. Now, here's what my instant thought is. With the Avalanche getting Wedgwood and with getting Blackwood, are they now poised to go to the Stanley Cup final? And because it's always a story like this. It's like, this was the pivot point of the season. And I'm looking at right now the BetMGM. You can go to the future section and pick the exact outcome for the Stanley Cup final.
Okay.
So the Colorado Avalanche, let's say, beating the Toronto Maple Leafs in the Stanley Cup final.
Something more realistic.
Okay, all right. Florida Panthers?
Damn.
Florida Panthers?
Ooh, rematch.
67-1 are your odds.
For Colorado?
Colorado beating the Florida Panthers in the finals.
Why was it 67?
I don't know. Well, the Leafs is 81.
That's mean. We took the Leafs out, and Still twisted the knife. Why?
The Avalanche beating the Lightning 126-1.
Wow.
Yeah, the lowest odds actually are at least the ones that I could find are the Florida Panthers. Also Avalanche to beat the Carolina Hurricanes 51-1.
Ooh. No, I want the rematch of the 96 Stanley Cup final.
What are the odds for the Ducks to beat the Blackhawks?
What are the odds for the Ducks to beat the Black? Let me have a look. Hang on. I got to go up.
Stanley Cup
No,
final.
it'd be Blackhawks to beat the Ducks, right? Like, that'd be longest odds because Blackhawks are in last place.
It doesn't matter. You're
It
betting
would
on
be
the
the same.
matchup.
Oh, okay.
It'd be
Yeah,
the same.
yeah.
So, interestingly, they don't offer those.
They
because
must.
You know
they
what?
do not
Good.
offer those. But I'll give you some long odds. The Anaheim Ducks to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning is a 4,000-1. The Anaheim Ducks to beat the Pittsburgh Penguins is a 10,001-1.
Holy hell.
Same with the Flyers and the Senators. Because listen, man, the Ducks are bad. Like, they're bad. And Jesse, which one did you want? It was Anaheim
No,
Ducks.
so 10,000-1 is the highest you can go.
Yes.
So the Sabres to beat the Sharks, 10,000-1. There you go.
That's crazy.
Okay.
Do you
Yep.
take the Colorado Avalanche now as like a sleeper team? Do you pick up Wedgwood? Do you pick up Blackwood? Do you put some futures on those guys?
Oh, I'd sprinkle.
Yeah?
I mean, listen, you could argue they didn't win either trade, but there's no argument that they're not immediately better. I thought they were immediately better the second they got Wedgwood. To add Mackenzie Blackwood to that tandem compared to what they had, huge upgrade. Huge upgrade. All they need is some saves. Settle in, make some saves. Nate Dogg and crew will take care of the rest. You might win some games here.
Jesse, what would you go with?
I had Colorado making the Stanley Cup final preseason, so I'm going to stick with it.
Okay.
I think they're good. I think the goalie situation looks a lot brighter
Sure
moving
does.
forward, and I'm disappointed that other teams helped them.
Yeah.
Why they bailed out Colorado out of this awful goalie situation. Now Georgiev's out, and they got two decent goaltenders, and I'm sad that teams helped them.
That's a
but
good
for
point.
the sake of me trying to be right, I'm happy.
Okay. All right. That is your BetMGM big story. Go to betmgm.com/dangle for more odds and terms and conditions. So the last, we've done a lot of the Rangers. The last thing I want to do is actually the Senators on the Rangers. Yesterday, Pierre LeBrun sat down with Michael Andlauer at the general managers meetings in Boca Raton. I think they're in Boca Raton. They usually are.
Somewhere warm.
Somewhere warm and nice. And I noticed on Insider Trading that CJ had a beach behind him, so I was a little jealous. But Andlauer said that the Senators have never spoken to a team about Brady Tkachuk. And obviously, Larry Brooks put out a New York Post Sports Plus article saying that the Rangers are targeting him. He said he's either frustrated with the veteran columnist Brooks if he wrote false information, or, and here's what Andlauer said, or he's being fed false information, and if needed, he's being fed false information, or people are giving this information from another NHL organization. I don't know. We just had a big memo about tampering from the NHL. I might consider that soft tampering. Now, guys, I'm going to give you my perspective on this, which is Larry Brooks' job is to get people to make a snap judgment and subscribe to Post Sports Plus. And the way to do that is give them a great headline and not really deliver on the article. If you look at the screenshots from the article, it's just like, hey, they like them. And it's like, cool, man, I like Ferraris.
Yeah.
But
I want a Bugatti.
yeah, it would be a great fit, and that's cool, man. But do you think soft tampering here, or do you think this is just the Senators are struggling, Matthew Tkachuk wanted out of Calgary, and so people are just making a bunch of assumptions about Brady?
I think two things can be true at once. Number one, Michael Andlauer is so mad about the Sens having a pick confiscated for their role in the Dodonov trade. No one has ever been more mad about anything ever than Michael Andlauer is about that pick. And this is part of his presidential campaign to get that pick back. Well, what about? Well, what about? Well, what about? Well, what about? And he's pointing at everybody. Number two,
Which I respect, by the way. Good for you. Go get it back.
Number two, all the Rangers fans saying there's no way this could possibly be tampering, no one has ever coped harder. It is the copious cope that ever coped. How come every June free agency comes and we're like, everyone tampers. Everyone. They're calling this guy. They're calling that guy. How come everything gets announced at 12 o'clock right on the button? And now it's, he was the best guy around. What about all the people he tampered with? What tampering? There's no tampering. I do believe this is a thing that happens. I can be convinced that the Rangers are trying to do it. With Brady Tkachuk, 100%.
They've certainly, Jesse, telegraphed their interest.
No, I don't think they did at all. I think the reports on Friday is that they didn't have any contact with him. We heard Dreger say zero zilch in his tweet calling out.
That's true, but what I'm saying is that I think the Rangers and Larry Brooks are pretty, and have been for a long time, and Larry's earned that. This might have been Larry going, let's just throw that out there because I know they like him.
No, I'm choosing to believe that he was wrong. I think he was very wrong on his reporting.
Oh, you think he was just wrong?
Yeah, I think he was wrong. I think he kind of extrapolated from something that wasn't really there. And all of the insiders, when they are so adamant about dunking on a fellow reporter in the biz, I'm going to lean on the guys who are trying to dunk.
Jesse, do you think Larry Brooks is very popular?
I think he works for a tabloid.
Oh,
I mean, truly, they're on the line. They're on the line. Their post-sports section is pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
They do a good job. They do. Hey, listen, Larry does a good job. Molly Walker does a good job. I'm not dunking on. I would say that, yes, their headlines are a bit tabloidy.
There's a newspaper
on the front of the New York Post. I do.
There's a newspaper in Toronto, and you go, this guy does a good job. This guy does a good. What about this guy? Hey, listen. Hey, listen. I think that's going on here.
All right. Now, let's talk about one of the spurned lovers in the Jake Trouba saga, and that is the Buffalo Sabres. Everybody was talking about the Columbus deal that was in place. From what we understand, the Sabres had one in place too, and they could have used some good news last week after going up 4-0 against the Colorado Avalanche in front of producer Drew, and then losing the game. 4-0. It was 4-0.
Do they want to have the most expensive decor in the history of man?
Well, I mean,
Darlene, Power, friggin' add $8 million in Trouba.
I keep saying it, Steve. How many towering defensemen are you going to add before you realize you need something else other than towering defensemen?
Well, at the end of the day,
need
it's goal scoring contests.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so Kevyn Adams, I thought, had 3 or 4 notable quotes. And
you made me ignore all of them over the last few days.
Yes.
So that I could react live on the show, and it's been very difficult.
I'm going to warn you that this particular news conference is mixed like a Beatles concert, mixed like a Beatles album, in that one side will come in one ear and one side will come in the other because they mono-mixed it.
So annoying.
It'll be fixed. Nobody will hear that.
Oh, nobody will hear that? Oh, that's good.
No, I'll fix it.
Jesse Blake.
But we'll start
on
at a minute 55 into this. And I want you to hear what the reporter has to say. Because Buffalo is a hardcore hockey town. They've got great media.
You can't fool them.
No, you can't. And listen to what this reporter says. This is just after Kevin's opening remarks. And you'll see this reporter just lay right into it.
Oh, the hard part?
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Happy to answer questions.
Kevin, you've got 11 wins in 26 games. You're 12th in the East. You're 23rd in the league right now. You're coming off, you're 3 days removed from one of the most disgraceful losses in the history of the franchise. Why is your team so mentally fragile? And what are you going to do about changing the composition of this mix?
Yeah, I think the Colorado.
No, let's not keep. Let's keep going.
No.
Let him answer.
Bravo.
Good question.
Holy shit.
Okay, let's go, because I want you to hear his answer here, because that starts with that question. Here's what he answers with.
Colorado game is, it's tough. That's one of those games that, they wins and losses at the end of the day all count the same, but those ones hurt. And there's a lot of reasons, I think, as you watch the video and you go back, that we unraveled, and we need to learn from that and be better. I think if I'm looking to the positives of You bring in Lindy, new system. We're 26 games into the year. Some of the stuff that I look at trying to judge our team, there's some positives there and reasons to believe that we're going to take some steps, which we need to. We're not happy with where we are. We need to get better. But, you look at, even strength, expected goals for, goals against. We're right where you want to be, to be a playoff team. We're surrounded, I think it's Jersey, Dallas, LA, maybe. There's just good teams in that mix right with us. So there's some things that I look at when you try to step back and zoom out and take some of the emotion out that are positive signs.
Okay, let's hold it there. So I wanted you to hear that because I wanted you to hear the reporter who ostensibly is representing the fans.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's what the media's ultimate job is to be. You're the conduit between the fan anger and then you listen to how the organization responds, right? You listen to how Kevyn Adams responds there. Do you feel and see and can you empathize with the frustration that a Sabres fan must feel listening to an answer like that?
Yes. To me, and we said this sort of at the beginning of the season, the Sabres are one of the most difficult teams to evaluate and talk about this season. Because at the beginning of the season, I said, I think they've done a lot of good things. I think they're on the right path. And I think if you look at where they are in the standings, I think I think I was correct. Mm-hmm. I think I was right. They're better than they were last year. Are they good enough? Sabres fans they finally, after all these years, it's here. The breaking point is here. They're done. I thought after Eichel and everything, that was it. No, they still had some punishment to go through. And I don't know exactly what it was. Maybe it was watching all the former Sabres win cups in recent years, especially on the Panthers. I mean, Eichel winning one the year before had to hurt too. I think that made them snap. And they just don't give a shit what the excuse is anymore. They're done. And I don't want to hear it.
If the Leafs were where the Sabres are, and Treliving or Dubas or Keefe or Berube or Pelly or Lou or anybody got up and said, yeah, but look at where our expected goals are.
Our expected goals are pretty good. I don't think Kevyn Adams said anything wrong. I don't. But that doesn't mean saying them out loud is right. No one wants to hear that shit. If you say something no one wants to hear, was it the correct thing to say? I'm not totally sure.
Well, especially in a situation like this.
He made the same mistake that every executive seems to make in these situations. He tried to talk his way out of it.
All he had to do there was go, you know what, I want to level with you. Nobody on the team and nobody in the front office is happy with this either.
Yep.
That's it. There's your sentence. There it is.
How often does an executive talking make it better? It's almost never.
Well, he starts this press conference, and we won't go to it, guys, but I want to say that he said, you guys wanted me here, I'm here. I believe in being accountable, here I am. That's how he opened the press conference.
Bless him. Bless him. I don't know if it was the right call, dude.
Okay, now I want you to listen to this. Go to 738, Jesse, if you can. This is where the jokes from this weekend sort of started, although this isn't quite the palm trees line. But he does go back to this a couple of times because the reporters put him in this direction. So this is the line you're looking for is we're not a destination city. I want to run this one, and then I want to run the next one, and then I want to break it down. So have a listen to this. It's about 40 seconds.
This is not a time, we're not a destination city right now where you're going to be able to go out and get UFAs that are the key guys, and I just don't think that's the way to build a sustainable winner. So you evaluate your core, you look for trades that you can have players that can grow with you and add to your team. If there's UFAs that you can add that make sense, that work, of course you're going to be open to doing that. So that's what we're in the process of. But to circle back, yeah, you always look at everything, and if there's ways to improve, we'll do it.
Okay, let's go to the next one here.
Well, in recent memory, the way to build a winner is to call you.
Let's go to, hold off on that just for a sec. Let's go to 14-15 here. And this is where the palm trees quote comes in. Okay. So you add that to what I wanted to add to that quote because that quote was the one that made the rounds, but there were other things around it.
It's really simple. You become a perennial playoff team. You make the playoffs. You have a chance to win Stanley Cup year after year. You are on less teams, no trade list. We don't have palm trees. We have taxes in New York. Those are real, and those are things you deal with. But and trust me, I'm in conversations every day, and there's a lot of players in this league that were on their list. So we need to earn the respect, and it starts with getting over the hump, getting in the playoffs, competing. And once you do that, I mean, look at the Bills. I mean, that would be a perfect example. I would, assume that this wasn't a destination or a place that a lot of people were signing up to when they were in a 17-year playoff drought, and they've done a phenomenal job over there. You get Josh Allen, and people are lining up because they have a chance to win the Super Bowl every year, and I think that's what we're working to build here.
Okay, now we'll pause it there. Now, here's the thing with the Sabres, and this isn't Kevyn Adams' fault necessarily because he is several general managers removed because they replaced one every month. It seemed like
it was crazy. It was crazy.
But they did have a Josh Allen. His name was Jack Eichel. And what the Sabres did, and this is where I take real umbrage with his "we're not a destination city," because it plays into the nobody wants to live or play in Buffalo thing, which is not true. I've seen eras of Buffalo Sabre hockey where free agents went out of their way to sign there.
Isn't Minnesota in first place?
Well, yeah, but I think
It's
people would
cold
say
there.
that Minneapolis and Buffalo are very different economically, different challenges and that sort of thing.
They don't have palm trees.
They don't have palm trees. They do have taxes. I think where I want to go with this is you're not a destination organization. The way that, and I want you to go and I want you to watch, and I'll still have Sabres fans disagreeing with me in my comments when I make this. I want you to go and watch episode 4 of the Amazon Prime series, The Captains. And they talk about, or not The Captains, that's the Jake Trouba one. I want you to look at the one with Jack Eichel.
Yeah, who's he paired with? I know what you're talking
Yeah, just go watch the one with Jack Eichel. We don't have to break it down too much. What this organization did to Jack Eichel was they made it seem like he was a prima donna. They made it seem like, hey, listen, we've done everything we can for you, Jack. We gave you $80 million on a contract. The least you could do is do what our doctor says to do with your neck that you have to live with for the rest of your life.
And get operated on, what was it, every 10 years for the rest of your life?
Yeah. And what happened was, what really happened here, guys, and Sabres fans, I need you to hear me on this because Sabres fans turned on Jack Eichel.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily your fault, but the organization wanted you to. They wanted to drive home the pressure of, if you're going to be here, you're going to do it our way. And Jack said no. And so there was a press campaign of which some of the media participated, where, hey, Jack Eichel, you're being a prima donna. You don't care about Buffalo Sabres hockey. You're not in it to win it. I'm so glad that you got traded. And this is an organization that Ryan O'Reilly signed a contract with, and when he won the Conn Smythe said he lost his love of hockey. This is an organization that moved off of Brandon Montour very quickly, couldn't get rid of Sam Reinhart fast enough after a couple of seasons where he did. Let me ask you this. If you're a free agent or you're a Jake Trouba looking at the Sabres organization, why would you want to go?
They got one big fish in recent memory, and it was Taylor Hall, and it's because he fucked up.
And how did he do there? He was bad with the Sabres.
They're like the bad kid school. Like you got detention too many times. Taylor Hall didn't do his homework, and now he's got to go to Buffalo. And for 5 seconds, by the way, until they traded him for,
because he was bad.
Like Anders, how's Anders Bjork doing? And a second, I think. Taylor Hall, who was not very far removed from his MVP.
And this is the thing, right? Fried was mentioning this morning that Sabres fans are all over Dylan Cousins, and Sabres don't want to move off him because they worry that he's the next guy to leave and then go win a cup somewhere else.
I mean,
You have
learn
Cousins,
something from history, for God's sake.
You have Cousins, you have Peterka, you have Tage Thompson.
Move off all of them too. They're too good.
And this is the thing. All the goal scoring that the Buffalo Sabres need in the expected goals department, here's the thing about expected goals is you actually do have to finish. You do have to score them. All of those guys could have provided that. Eichel, Reinhart, they could all be there. Those are the guys I would argue they need. Casey Middlestat. Did you need Bo Byram that bad?
Yeah.
When you have Power and Dahlin and all these other guys?
In retrospect, I kind of liked the deal at the time, but in retrospect, if you look at roster construction, you need Middlestat more than you need Byram. That's not the case for most teams. I think most teams need Byram more than you need Middlestat. But they need Middlestat, who also hasn't had the greatest season.
Yeah, but on a Colorado,
really
Colorado team that's been mostly injured and
really good start, and then he's tailed off. But still.
And then, Jesse, if we'll go to the last one here, the one thing that Sabres fans are super pissed about is, you do the Jeff Skinner buyout. You've got a significant amount of cap available. Why haven't you done anything with it? Here's what they say.
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is yes, except it's not in a vacuum though, Lance. You have to look at past this year when you're putting your roster together, and the cap, I think I've clearly explained before, has never been something that I'm as focused on as all of you or the fans. We're trying to build our roster out that we're able year after year to compete. And if you go add an $8 million player that's got 5 years left on his contract, what does that do for the next round of guys? And that's what my job is, to make sure we're positioning ourselves not only today but into the future. So if there's players out there we think that it will help us today, that also keeping the long-term view in mind, we'll act on it.
But you already know. You're not paying big money to Quinn or Levi now, and in July that might have been a question. You know that now, that they're not getting big money deals after this season.
Oh, I'm glad. I wish you were their agent.
But the whole world knows that just by watching the games. So, and you're right, you have to take the long-term view, but we're talking about this year. You cannot go 14 years out of the playoffs. Teams make it just out of dumb luck. I understand you're probably doing consistent trade talks with teams, and I know the Trouba rumors are out there right now. He might be on the team tomorrow for all we know. The question, I think, is simply, why isn't there another Jason Zucker type 1 year veteran kind of acquisition being made? Not a guy with 5 years left on his deal. You've got the room on the cap this year where you can still deal with future years.
Yeah, I guess, I'd have to go into specifics, which is tricky in these situations. But if you go back to the summer, there were a short list of UFA guys that we had targeted, and fortunately we were able to get Zucker, because I think he's really stepped in and been a stabilizing player and been a good leader and mentor and played well on the ice. There were other guys pursued, chose other places. That's what happens in the UFA market. And in terms of trades, there was, in my mind, a trade that we worked really hard at this summer that we went all in on. You guys probably would have roasted me, said we were going to overpay to get the player, and they ended up not trading him, and he's still on that team.
That would be Marty Nietzsche's.
It's not from lack of want, but we're not going to go, Mike, and just make a trade so you guys can say we've spent to the cap if we don't think it makes sense for now and into the future. And that's just, you just can't operate like that.
So that's positive.
Did you have?
Yeah, so that's the one thing that I took issue with Kevyn Adams there, because the palm tree stuff I can get. They're obviously not a destination. He was just trying to say, like, we're not Florida, which is, like he said, in the worst way possible, and became a meme and all that. But the not spending the money and the excuses, and I think the guys asking the questions, the reporters in the room there, they're so right.
That's
They are.
20 minutes in to the crucifixion of Kevyn.
Yeah.
It's a 30-minute press conference.
It's
Holy shit.
You're sitting there and you're asking him, 14 years out of the playoffs, like every year now has to be a go for it year, right? And Steve, if I give you $100 and I say I'm gonna give you $100 so you can buy dinner today and tomorrow,
yes,
and you say, well, I want this dinner here. I'm looking at this menu and they have an item for $100, so I can't buy that because then I won't have anything for tomorrow.
Yeah,
don't spend the full 100.
Yeah,
like why don't you get something different so that you'll have money for today and tomorrow? And with Kevyn Adams, the question about the cap is you have so much cap room and you have supposedly the thumbs up from the Pagulas to go spend the money, but your excuse is that you don't want to sign an $8 million deal for 5 years. Don't do that contract, do the lesser contract. He didn't have an answer for that because he seems like the way he's GMing this Buffalo Sabres team is coming from a standpoint of being way too timid. And he's doing the easy path of like, we got a bunch of young guys, we got a bunch of draft picks, just play them. It's all good. Instead of being proactive in building a team and trying to do something to win. He's sitting back and he's throwing his hands up and saying, we can't get free agents. We got a bunch of young kids. They need to stick around. They only need contracts one day. And just sitting back and relaxing instead of everybody's asking for some sort of action from Kevyn Adams, and he just doesn't seem right for the job at this point.
The anecdote that he provided, too, if I just to add to that before you jump in, the anecdote he provided about, well, what happens the next 5 years of the player that has, an $8 million
cap
contract?
goes up, and you do your job.
Yeah. Okay, so you know what? You're right. You're making several $1 million to do this, or $1 million or whatever he's making. Just don't do anything.
The Florida Panthers traded their all-time leading scorer. And we're not even talking about like all the trades that they made with the Sabres. The Vegas Golden Knights got rid of the most beloved player in franchise history. The Rangers are just lopping off heads left and right. Do something. Do anything. Yeah, well, this guy said, oh, call the next one and the next one and the next one. Do something. Now, the one, I'm not going to stick up for him, but the subtext here that he just can't say because he'll get fired is the accusation from a lot of Sabres fans is its ownership and internal cap, and they refuse to spend to the cap.
The Kevyn Adams always says that he's got like the go ahead from the Pagulas to do it, but yeah, all of the rumors are that he doesn't, and the actual thing is he can't spend the money, which is even worse. Then like fold your franchise, go do something else.
Overspend. Go into free agency and give a $2.5 million player $5 million.
Sure, something,
dude. You would still have three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and yeah. Listen, spend it on the right guy. I get that, but isn't that your job, man? And the reality is, again, players talk. There's only 700 of these guys. They all know each other. If you're from a small town of like 10,000 people, I'm sure you can relate to, everybody knows everybody through everybody. Mm-hmm. The NHL is like a group of 2,000 people. They all know each other. They're all very well aware, and the walls talk. Do you think that a star player wants to go there and be treated not by the fans, who are actually great to people,
yes, but
by the organization the way Jack Eichel was treated? And I would say no. Absolutely not.
The Buffalo, what's crazy about this press conference in the state of the Sabres right now is they are second last in the Eastern Conference. Mm-hmm. They are 1 point out of last in the Eastern Conference. They are also 3 points out of a playoff spot.
Yeah, that's why the standings are irrelevant.
Yeah, like
they were ahead of the Bruins a couple weeks ago.
They're the damn Bruins, by the way, who are 1 point behind the Leafs.
Of course,
go away.
Mm-hmm. I think if you look at this team play, you know they're not a playoff team, right? Mm-hmm. 3 points out. They're not like the Atlantic Division every year is Groundhog Day. Like the Sabres aren't knocking off Tampa, Boston, Florida, Toronto. Like we've seen it. We've seen 2 months of hockey. You can see it. It's not happening.
I just also don't feel like they're dead. Like they're
pretty dead.
They seem an impact forward away from being in the
Yeah,
conversation.
the impact forward they should have got in July. They died in July when Kevyn Adams decided to sit on his hands and say, you know what, I can't sign any long-term contracts because I'm afraid I got to pay Darlene for his next deal many moons from now.
Here's what I would say to Kevin. Don't worry. You might not be here anyway.
Yeah.
Like, just go and do something.
Is this cope? Is this so? The conversation used to be the Sabres suck and they're irredeemable and fire everyone because there's no point even watching their games. That used to be the conversation. Now it's they shouldn't still suck. They're not far away from the conversation. How do you spend your way into a playoff spot?
Sure.
Basically, like, I don't think it's ridiculous that the Sabres could be relevant very soon. That's not a conversation we used to have. The conversation used to be these guys aren't even an NHL team. That used to be what it was.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just
Okay, and Kevyn Adams inherited the team at that point. Like, he didn't pull them from irrelevancy. He inherited the team that was like, okay, there's pieces here, they could do something. And then since then, we've stand pat at that point of the franchise.
he's sitting there complaining about how hard his job is, or explaining to us how hard his job is.
Explaining, yeah.
And no one wants to hear it. Like, I think he handled those questions well. I think he's done some very good things for the Sabres. If he were to get fired tomorrow, I don't think he'd be leaving them in terrible shape. I also think he should probably get fired.
Does anybody
you need a new set of eyes on it?
Can I also throw out this? What favors did the Sabres do themselves bringing in Lindy Ruff this year? And the reason I
don't
ask
get it.
that is there are certain coaches, you get to a point where you've had your day and it might be past. And I'm not going to give Lindy shit for everything that happened with the Devils last year, but there is a reason why Devils fans were like, please go.
Well,
And this is the thing. So you go back to what worked 25 years ago, by the way. That's when they were at their peak with Hasek, and Lindy was the coach then. 25 years ago.
Was he
1999.
is he coming in the door? Is Dom coming in the door?
What do you mean? Oh, Hasek.
Hasek.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. And this is so and Lindy's one of those coaches where not everybody loves this guy. So did you do yourself as a non-destination city, and I would say non-destination franchise, by bringing in a guy that a lot of guys don't want to play for?
Well, Jesse said the magic word last show, I think, where he called Lindy Ruff a Cito Gaston hire,
Yeah.
absolutely.
yeah.
Was.
referencing the Blue Jays. And, okay, so the Blue Jays bring back Cito Gaston. What are the Blue Jays thinking? My thinking is, at the time, no one wanted to be the manager of the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays were not a destination team. They're not now. They were for a little bit. They're not now.
Well, not with this management group, no.
No, and I think Buffalo's in the same position. Their reputation, unfortunately, precedes them. I think the only way out of this problem is to draft well, which I don't know, they've done okay.
They have, no question.
And spend to the cap every year, whatever the cap ends up becoming.
Yeah, his quote about not caring about the cap, what do you mean you don't care about the cap?
Yeah, it means you have more money to spend on players.
It was the
You
first.
should care.
It was the first. There's no winning that press conference, but that was the first question where I was like, "That's a little patronizing."
Yeah.
I also, let me say this. The Sabres have almost the exact amount of money to spend right now and at the trade deadline as the New York Rangers. So how is that money being spent, Kevin?
Damn, dude. I don't know who you go out there and get. I think you just start button mashing. If you're him, go do something. Go find anything.
Well, here's what I was thinking. You know what's not a destination city unless they're winning? They also wear blue and yellow.
Who?
St. Louis.
Oh,
And guess what they did?
I forgot that they've worn so many colors.
You know what St. Louis did? They went out and they got aggressive and signed 2 RFAs this year. And they did it in a creative way that worked out for them. And Broberg's been really good.
Yeah, Kevyn Adams doesn't have that in his bag.
He doesn't do
it's
that.
not a skill set he has.
Now, Roberto Luongo told a story. I think it was on Chicklets. That he was offer sheeted after Florida traded him to Vancouver, which is crazy. But he turned it down. There was a rumor, I don't know if it was ever confirmed, that Mitch Marner was offer sheeted
Columbus.
by
offer sheet.
Columbus.
Yeah, you have to accept an
13
offer.
million.
Somebody can't just give you an offer sheet and then it's like, oh, you could go to this team. No, you have to also accept it.
But with Luongo, I'd never even heard a whisper of that. And I wonder if the Sabres have gone out there and offer sheeted guys. And people are just like, no, I don't want to go there. You have to make trades.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go out there and make trades. Not every player in the NHL has a no trade. Not every player in the NHL has a no move. Get active. Get active. Do it. Overpay. Whatever. And then you guys would be on the... Don't pre-argue with something you haven't done. Come on, man. Oh, man.
You should have seen what I could have done to that guy.
That Marty Nietzsche's deal that I didn't do, it was so good. And you would have criticized me for it anyway. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? You're patting yourself on the back for a hypothetical that you didn't succeed in. You're in the success business and you failed. What do you want? What do you want? Like, listen, I don't want to go to that press conference either, but you're in the success business and you failed. Wear it.
You know what they say about doer? The clothes are built for doering things.
That's the end of the ad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you see? You see?
No, that works.
Yeah, see?
No, it doesn't.
Whether you're traveling or lounging at home or going to a nice dinner party, doers. Those are the ones who DUER.
It's growing on me.
These are the clothes you want to go with. And here's the thing. They're not about the fast fashion. They're committed to sustainability. We're talking slow fashion.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you slow. It just means that it lasts longer. They use recycled materials and plant-based fibers wherever possible for natural breathability, softness, and moisture absorption. And if you got that hockey booty, well, those pants, they grab you and they tuck you.
It's great for if you're the fourth line center. Oh, no, it's spelled different.
No, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
Got it.
listen, doer is a pant that I have big legs. I have a big butt. Steve, you can relate.
Oh.
They kind of fit great. And as a sweaty boy, I don't feel too sweaty in them, which is good because it's always a problem for me as well.
And that is welcome for the two people who have to sit next to him all the time.
You will love your doers as much as we do. Check out Doer's flagship stores across Canada or the United States, or shop online at shopdoer.com/SDP. Right now, our listeners, just in time for the holidays, get 20% off their first purchase when you use the exclusive URL, and that is shopdoer.com/SDP. Such a great deal. Don't wait. 20% off shopdoer.com/SDP. Now, something you don't know about us is oftentimes right before the show, Steve will show Jesse or I or both of us something that happened with his kids. Mm-hmm. And it's the digital equivalent of the guy that had way too many photos in his wallet in the 90s. They just kind of fall out.
Yes.
Like, these are my kids. Check them out.
I'm proud.
And if you're somebody that loves those type of memories, those family-related things, you should check out Storyworth. Each week, Storyworth emails your loved one a thought-provoking question that you get to help pick. And it's things like, what's the bravest thing you've ever done? What's the farthest you've ever traveled? How'd you used to get to school every day? And Storyworth makes the writing process, okay? This is part of a gift. Makes the writing process super easy. After a year of fun, Storyworth compiles your loved one's stories and photos into a beautiful keepsake hardcover book that you're able to share and revisit for generations to come. So it's essentially telling your story.
Yeah, the history of your family.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And writing a book from scratch is hard. So let these guys do it for you.
I also think too, like, when your grandparents pass away and something comes up at a family dinner and you're like, oh God, I wish they were here so I could ask them.
Yeah.
I wish I had asked more questions.
Yeah, families love Storyworth for just that reason, and it has 35,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot, millions of stories preserved since they were founded over 10 years ago. So with Storyworth, we want to give that personal gift from the heart this holiday season. Go to Storyworth, 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 spelled how it sounds, .com/STP to save $10 on your first purchase. That's Storyworth.com/STP to save $10 on your first purchase. Let's move on to the success business and you failed, Keefe and the Leafs and Devils. Now, I'm going to be streaming the game tonight.
Hey.
But I want to...
No, today's not Monday. Today's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
It feels like Monday, doesn't it?
Yeah, because we're recording.
And I just want to go through... Jonas Siegel sat down with Sheldon Keefe. And there are some things in this article that the people who would really identify with the philosophies and thoughts of the Dubas era Toronto Maple Leafs, which Keefe is a huge member of.
Yes.
I think you'd find interesting. And we'll start with some of the answers. And this is talking about his time in Toronto. I look back to my time in Toronto. This is Keefe saying this. And it's hard to compute, quite honestly, because we were one way in the regular season. At times we scored a lot. At times we didn't defend well enough. At times we did. I think we don't get enough credit for defending like we did. And then we get into the playoffs, and I just don't think the defending was ever really an issue. We couldn't score. That part of it is difficult. But it's just a reminder of how hard we need to push to be able to learn to score in different ways in the regular season versus the playoffs. And he's
My guys didn't go to the net!
And he's talking about the Devils in this particular situation. He said, but yeah, that was one of the things. We talked a lot in Toronto about trying to be better defensively. I don't think that's ever why we lost in the playoffs. I look back at those Game 7s and all these series we could have won before getting to Game 7. The number of opportunities we had to score goals and not being able to generate enough. That's the big reason why we lost, and that doesn't necessarily jive with the perception of the team, say, in the regular season. Do we agree with that, guys?
Yep.
Yeah, Sheldon Keefe
Look at the
always
scores.
understood the problem.
Just go look at the box score.
He
I know.
always understood.
They got what they needed, and the Stars weren't able to put the puck in the net.
I think early on, too, Freddie Anderson in the playoffs, you just never knew what you were going to get. He was exhausted. He was either going to put on the game of his life or he's going to let 6 goals in.
See, Freddie Anderson, if I'm not mistaken, never played an elimination game for Keefe.
Oh, okay. So then,
Like, he was horrible under Babcock, though.
yeah.
And except for the Capital series, he was great that one friggin' time. And then under Keefe, I think it was Campbell.
Samsonov.
No, Anderson might have been in net.
Anderson was in net for the first one. Yeah.
He might have been in net for the Columbus series. Then it was Campbell,
Samsonov last year.
Samsonov last year, yeah.
And that was it.
And
Samsonov Wall.
Samsonov twice.
And
Yeah.
before that too.
Samsonov Wall.
On the final Boston series this past spring, he said, well, you look back, you watch that Boston series in 2024, we played very well defensively. We played hard. We were right there, even with no Austin and no Willie. Even Bobby McMahon was a big loss for us, and he's right.
He is.
Bobby McMahon was. I thought we were right there. Could have won that series. The Montreal series we lost in 2021. I look back at that, and I remember going back through it. We lost 2 games in overtime when we had them facing elimination. We had 15 2-on-1s in that series, and 11 of them came in our 4 losses, and we scored on 0 of them.
Jesus. That's Leaf internal stat, right? Like I don't think he's quoting a public stat necessarily.
No, and Jonas Siegel says, which is almost impossible to do, just not scoring on them. And
I'd love to know who was involved in all those 2-on-1s.
So Keefe said, so it's like we score in a couple of those, the series is over, and then who knows what happens from there, but it's the little things. We got to be able to come through big moments and condition yourself to do so. Clearly, I didn't do a good enough job of that. And, I think my issue with Keefe was never that he didn't own what the issue was. I think it was that he couldn't get the players to respond to it.
No.
And I look at that stat alone, the 15 2-on-1s. If you have 15 2-on-1s and you score on 0 of them, then that's not the way to score goals.
2-on-1s?
If
Yes, they are.
If you're not...
What?
Oh, come
yes,
on.
they
You
are.
know what I'm talking about.
2-on-1s are absolutely how you score goals. What are you talking
Steve,
about?
you know what I'm talking
That was
about.
a wild quote. Adam.
That is a wild
It's not
quote.
a wild quote, guys.
That's an Adam quote.
What have we been
wild.
talking? What have you put your entire fucking season on this year? Go to the net.
Yes.
The 2-on-1s weren't working. What didn't they do?
They didn't go to the net.
Thank you.
They
It's
kept
not a
getting
wild fucking
clean.
quote. It's you didn't make an
No, it
adjustment
is.
and change.
It is. Same,
Adam,
same
Okay, well,
2-on.
okay. Oh, you know what? No,
No,
you know what?
okay, no,
Let's let
don't-
him off the hook. Let's let him off the
No,
hook again.
That's
No.
what we're doing.
That's what we're
Going to
doing.
the net
yeah.
is a helpful way to score goals.
Yeah.
2-on-1s are a helpful way to score
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah.
This team,
Because they were a rush. My point is, they were a rush team. They were not a dump and chase team. They were not a chaos in front of the net team. 2-on-1s were the only way those Leafs could score.
The 2-on-1s
And guess what
against
happened?
the Leafs
the scoring
went in.
went away in the playoffs.
The 2-on-1s against the Leafs went in. This is the problem. They failed at the 2-on-1s.
no,
Adam,
they couldn't score, Steve.
2-on-1s are good. Are you sitting here arguing 2-on-1s?
No,
are
I'm not. I'm saying the
Yes, you
Leafs
are.
couldn't convert on them, and those were their only scoring chances. Go back and watch it. You watch the games.
No.
You stream the games.
You are right.
Thank you.
That they didn't.
That's my point.
They didn't get second chances, right? Like they didn't get chances.
No
off
rebounds. There was no goalie saw fucking everything. We were turning that year in the regular season. We were turning. It was like the Sam Montembeault game 1 of this year.
That was just
we turned
every
him.
playoff
We
game.
put him on the Leafs. Put Sam Montembeault on Team Canada that game.
It was that without the dominance in the shot counter.
That's my point. I'm not saying 2-on-1s are not
Yeah,
good
but
to score. and
we can't. If we disagree with you about the 2-on-1s, you can't immediately say you're letting them off the hook. Like that's not what we're doing. Don't spin the conversation.
that is
But
letting them
Keefe-
off the hook.
Keefe
I was disagreeing with what you were saying. Nothing to do with the Leafs.
Keefe was regularly like, go to the goddamn net.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even though he had more of a rush team by his design, right? So, it's you could say maybe Keefe wanted one thing, but he coached another way. But we know for years and years and years, he hammered home, go to the friggin' net, playoff style goals, go to the friggin' net. And they wouldn't do it for him. They're doing it for Craig
They are.
with the exact same forward group. Nearly exact in a lot of ways.
Now, the last part of the article I think is one of the most interesting because we talk about a lot who's making the decisions here in Toronto. And Keith Pelly at a sports conference earlier this year in Toronto said what he really likes about this team is there's harmony all the way through the front office, from the top right down to the coach. And so basically, Keith was asked about that, and he said, I've never had a real conversation with Keith Pelly before, so I don't know what that quote was. I spent hours with Brad, and I was actually surprised to be back as Leafs coach a year ago. And Jonas Siegel said, I guess you were in limbo for quite a while. And Keith said, probably nobody in the organization there knows me better than Brandon Shanahan, who worked so closely with me and with everything from Blueprint or the Amazon show, has probably watched hundreds of hours behind the scenes of me working and probably knows me better than anybody in hockey. He decided to keep me around.
So
That not proof that Shanny's making all the calls?
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah,
It-
we've
like,
known that for
the head coach and everything, and like big trades. They're all his decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. All comes down to him.
I think Keith Pelly meant to praise Craig Berube with that quote, but it reads like shivving Keefe.
It
on the
does.
way out, which is the Leafs' MO. They shiv guys on their way out. They don't
Dubas,
care.
they did it to Dubas.
They did it to Dubas, and I'll always bring it up. The 2021 Amazon documentary, they protected everybody. Jimmy Vesey, fuck off. They shit on that guy so bad because he was one of the only players they had license to, right? So this is their MO, and generally I like the organization, but they did him dirty. And every time he scores on the Leafs, I bet it feels like absolute euphoria.
Here's what Craig Berube had to say about Max Domi and Nick Robertson. He said, the score sheet, the goals, it's important. Max has got to maybe take a little bit different of approach and not be such a selfless player and shoot more. Just getting to the net and the greasy areas a bit more. He's the type of player that could score more goals there. He's a strong guy. He's a heavy guy. So I think for him, a lot like Nick Robertson, they got to get inside more and get more to the net and score some greasy goals. We need them too. We need those guys, and we need secondary scoring. And Max Domi, by the way, projected to be back tonight.
Max, oh, is he?
Yeah, he's practicing with them today. So
That's awesome. Well, I bet he'd like that quote and then scoring against Sheldon Keefe. Maybe because that quote is mostly about Max Domi, but maybe he figured out why Robertson's not scoring right there. Is the team's not designed for him to score anymore. Last year's team was.
rush guy. He's
Rush
a
guy. Yeah. I don't remember his first goal of the season. There's only two to remember. But the one against Vasilevsky, rush, crazy angle, all that. That's not really how they score anymore, unless you're William Nylander.
Mm-hmm.
Who scores on those shitty 2-on-1s?
I know where I was going with that.
I know.
Both of you jumped on that like I was saying 2-on-1 should be out. You guys knew where I was going with that.
Yeah, so attack us.
Do you see a
What did you do to
2-on-1?
me?
Did you see a 2-on-1 and go, no?
No, of course not.
I know, I'm just fucking.
But my point was they weren't scoring the right way, and the way that they had scored wasn't working.
Robertson, I love him. He can't. I don't think he can do what Keefe is asking him to. Like, oh yeah, go to the net, go to the. Like that's not Travis Konechny. That's not Brandon Hagel. That's not. Like I'm trying to think of the other little guys out there who score gritty goals in this league. Like Cole Caulfield's not really doing that. He's just a laser beam. I don't know if Robertson has the facilities to do what Keefe is asking him to do.
Berube.
Yeah.
No, Keefe.
Oh, Keefe.
Yeah.
Oh,
in
okay.
that quote.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I don't know what Robertson's future is in the league, because if you're an undersized guy and you don't have the speed to make up for it or the skill set to make up for it, like where do you play?
Hey, let's tack on our last conversation. Kevyn Adams should be calling the Leafs every fucking day to try to get Nick Robertson.
Nick Robertson?
He should.
I don't know.
Why not?
I don't know if anybody should be calling for Nick Robertson.
I mean, try.
He had
you're in
15
second
goals.
last. Like, what do you have to lose?
He had
know what I
15
mean?
goals last year.
Yeah. He can score in the NHL, and the reason I know that is because he has. He's just clearly not
A dump and chase forward. Not a dump and chase guy. And maybe can't adjust his game the same way the other guys can.
Well, okay, so he's got this laser beam of a shot
Yeah.
that overpowers any flaw in his game.
Mm-hmm.
And in the OHL, he had an elite setup man in Semyon Duragachintsev. And then in the AHL, I'm not totally sure who all his line mates were, but I'm willing to bet Alex Steves was on there, and he just became Marley's all-time leading scorer. Nick Abruzzese, who's a pass-first forward. And then in the NHL, he's mostly been getting, like most recently, it was Fraser Minton, it was Pontus Holmberg, it was Max Domi, who is a pass-first forward, but they didn't have the puck enough to be a threat offensively.
If the thing is like, oh, we need to play Nick Robertson with Matthews and Marner to get him going. Like, what?
What's the same with Pontus Holmberg, though, isn't it?
No, Pontus Holmberg has lots of places in this lineup.
He played a role.
Yeah, he's got a purpose. And like if Nick Robertson needs star players around him to have a purpose, then he's just not good enough.
Like this,
he needs to be an effective third or fourth liner.
I think I think Robertson can't do the things that Holmberg does to be effective on this team. I also don't think Holmberg can do the things Robertson does, but it's just the tools Holmberg has are better suited for this team.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I also think that Robertson's a complementary piece, and I think they're asking him to drive scoring on the third line without any viable candidate to help him. And that includes Fraser Minton. I know Fraser's had some points and stuff, but that's a lot to put on Fraser Minton.
Stop being in your own zone all the time.
They do get hemmed in a lot with him there.
When you
I agree.
do have an opportunity with John Tavares because of a weird line change, don't fuck it up and go offside and then take an offensive zone penalty.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Sorry, I know this turned into a conversation about Nick Robertson, but I stand by what I said from before Keefe was fired. He has always known what this team's problem was.
Elliot Friedman. The reason we went to Robertson and Domi, by the way, is because that was a Berube quote. Elliot Friedman from the Board of Governors meeting, they just posted this a couple minutes ago. Bettman says there will be, despite Bettman denying this a couple weeks ago, Bettman says there will be negotiations with the PA about the cap going up more than 5%. Yeah, because they're going to need to.
Can't trust anything.
There are no active tampering investigations. Duh, because everybody's doing it. You have to fine everybody. We're going to not have a first round next year. And then the Florida Panthers are closing in on hosting an outdoor game at the Marlins ballpark.
Oh,
That's cool.
That is cool. That's very cool. That'd be interesting.
That's warm.
It does get cool in Florida at certain parts of the year.
I mean,
that's key.
they've had outdoor games in Mexico. They'll be okay.
Yeah.
They had an outdoor game in California.
The other thing that the insiders mentioned on TSN this morning was that the PA and the NHL are hoping to have an agreement in place potentially by the playoffs for the next CBA.
Oh, that'd be excellent.
Yeah.
Some assurance that the hockey won't stop.
Yeah. Hey.
That's great for small business owners.
Yeah. That's great minds think alike, Adam.
The Marlins also don't play in an outdoor stadium. The roof is retractable.
Yes.
You can take it off and put it back on. So Like knowing the NHL, they'll probably play it with the roof covered.
No.
If
If it rains that day, they'll have to, right?
You know, it'll be like controlled environment. They'll get
Isn't
all
that
the
what they
AC
did in
there.
Vancouver when they wore those weird maroon jerseys?
Vancouver doesn't have a retractable roof.
The BC, they played in where the BC Lions
They got a
and
dome
soccer
on
team
that
play,
thing.
right?
Yeah, that was their outdoor game. Was actually
Was that? I don't
inside.
remember.
No, because Torts was wearing a heavy jacket for that.
I'm almost positive that was roof closed.
Really?
Really?
Stupid. Boo.
No way.
Boo.
Vancouver.
Jesse's looking it up.
Are
That
you
was
serious?
that was the Eddie Lack game.
Yes. That was Luongo's last game with the Canucks. That's where he Patrick Watt. Then I'm out of
The
here.
2014 Heritage Classic
Yeah.
was played inside. Yeah, Steve, there's a
No
roof on it.
shit.
You were wrong.
I was wrong.
Yeah, didn't you say?
He said it was inside.
I said it was inside.
Oh, yeah. I was saying there's a roof on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's played.
right.
It's played inside.
There you go.
Yeah.
Attendance
Held indoor.
54,000.
Good for them. I mean,
Watch
the Canucks
watch
had
them
been very
lose to the Sens.
54,000. So like instead of calling them an outdoor game, we should just call them a game with a bigger audience.
Yeah. Ooh, look at this.
Hey, it's more people.
Yeah, because it has the little thing on the top, right? It is the first. I'm just going to read directly from Wikipedia. It is the first outdoor game to be played in what is technically an indoor stadium, albeit one of the larger capacity than a typical NHL arena. BC Place is a retractable roof venue, and it is unknown if the stadium has the capabilities to keep its roof open during inclement weather. So that's all they said. So, yeah. Oh, it was announced hours before the game that the roof of BC Place would be closed for the duration of the game due to weather concerns. There you go.
They're probably worried about it raining and then freezing to the tracks on the retraction.
It's also not a really technically outdoor indoor stadium.
The
Like,
man was monogamous despite his multiple concurrent partners. Like, what are you talking about?
right? The retractable roof, it opens like the little hole in the top. Like it's not,
Oh, yeah,
you know
yeah.
the BC Place is basically covered.
What do you like? What,
Listen,
what are
man,
we
it
doing?
rains. It rains
we
a lot
doing
out there. I get that.
Yeah, but don't call it an outdoor game.
Yeah,
They
it's
didn't. They called
also
it the
not-
Heritage Classic. Oh.
Yeah, Heritage Classic.
Heritage Classic is supposed to be.
It took place indoors.
Stop it.
Knowing the NHL, we'd be like, oh, they're going to play in 60 degrees Celsius weather in Florida. This is going to be awesome. Then they'll close the roof. So that's all I was saying. About the
Boo and hiss. Boo and hiss.
Do we want to do a press conference or are we wrapping?
We can ask some questions.
Let's do some questions.
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah.
You all right?
I said yeah.
The Presser. SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
Here's what I want to see. Outdoor game in Europe.
And where?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Outdoor game in Europe.
Oh, Europe. Yeah, that'd be cool. Steve, you were in Ottawa this weekend.
I was.
I just streamed the Leafs game for you,
Thank you.
and we haven't had a show since you were in Ottawa. Do you want to say anything about Ottawa? Because last time when you were out east, it took several episodes to get to stuff, and then we had like a 30-minute conversation. Do you have anything about Ottawa's book signing?
It's awesome. Ottawa is just, they always show up. We've done a bunch of live stuff there. They were the number one piece of feedback I got is they're begging us to do a live show. So we got to find a way to get out there and do a live show. Signed for over 3 hours. Met a lot of people that I met at the signing in 2019. Some people that I met at other signings. Ottawa always shows up. They're the best.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun. I left very tired, but happy. The thing that is always the most sore after those signings, like, it's not my knees, it's not my back, it's not my hand. Everyone's like, "Oh, how's your wrist?" or whatever. No, it's my face. Like, because I smile. I just smile for 3.5 hours or whatever, because I'm happy. Mm-hmm. It's great. You don't have to twist my arm to go to events like that. It's the best.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get up there. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right.
Same with Kingston.
First
It's also
question
the best.
comes from Carson. Carson writes, with the Penguins being 5-1 over their last 6 games, what will it take for Adam to admit that the Penguins may finally be cleaning up their act and playing like a real NHL team?
Tristan Jarry is no longer a pumpkin.
Yeah.
I think that helps.
He's 4. What is he? 4-0 in his last 4, and he's got like a save percentage that's like 9:30 or 9 something. Yeah, that
Adam, how do you respond?
I actually had a couple Pens fans in my DMs saying like, "Oh, what do you got to say? The Pens beat the Leafs." I'm like, first off, the Leafs haven't beat anybody. They haven't won shit. So if that's your bar, you're gonna be real disappointed.
They haven't played well. I would say 4 straight games.
The Leafs had a bad week last week. I just don't think they were that good. I think it's gonna take more than 5-1 in your last 6 for me to get excited about it. I mean, where are they now in the standings?
I mean,
they were
you're
close
one of the hottest teams over the last week and a half, and you're still not in the playoffs. Like, let's take a breath.
Yeah, I'm happy for you.
What happened to the Penguins where that's the bar?
Yeah.
You won.
Yeah, what it's going to take for me to admit that they're a good hockey team is be ahead of the Flyers and Islanders.
Damn.
You know, make the playoffs, man.
You
don't need me to tell you that they are. Like, if they make the playoffs, then that tells you that they're good enough to make the playoffs. That should be enough. But I think that the reality is that the play from some of their better players, or who's supposed to be their better players, like who knew Matt Grzelcyk was the playoff or power play phenom,
dude. His I forget what the name of the chart is, but his even strength versus power play,
it's insane.
He's like unusable.
The greatest
Nicholas
player,
Lidstrom.
Yeah, the greatest power play. Who knew it was going to be Matt Grzelcyk?
They
I don't know,
need
man.
Erik Karlsson. They have Matt Grzelcyk.
If the Penguins are bad, it's a story because Crosby and Malkin play there, right? If the Sabres are bad, it's been the same story for 14 years. The reason that we have focused on the Penguins and we have focused on the Predators is because they're not supposed to be there. The Predators are supposed to be, I thought, a team that could win the division. The Penguins are a team that keep telling us they're good, and we keep going, yeah, but we watch you.
They're the custodians of... How many Hall of Famers are on the roster right now? 4?
Probably 4. Yeah, I would put Letang in the Hall of Fame for sure.
Yeah.
That's 4.
Yeah. I don't know, man. And like, listen, they're a team that I keep asking, like, what are you? And if Tristan Jarry's good, then you're a team that should make the playoffs. Let's see.
They're not, yeah.
Right? Isn't that fair?
No, I mean, if you have, and Ned's been okay. Mm-hmm. So you have competent goaltending through both guys, which again, most teams in this league are screaming for. Your defense is, well, we know what it's built for. It's not great at defending, but can move the shit out of the puck.
Yep.
I look at their team up front, and I'm like, that's not bad. I mean, the top 2 centers sure help everything. Yeah. Why? And the Rangers like have their hair on fire. Like, what? Why can't the Penguins make the playoffs in the Metro?
They should be able to.
The Islanders are.
That was the story, though.
Yeah.
Right? You have to understand, like, I'm not picking at your team because I don't like Penguins fans or I don't like Pittsburgh. I'm picking at your team because this team should be doing better and they're not, and that's the story.
You got the Devils and Capitals and Hurricanes, I think, are your clear 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And then you got like the Penguins,
Philly,
Flyers,
Rangers, Islanders.
and Islanders having a mid-off
Yeah.
to maybe get the last spot.
Yeah.
Those 2 wildcard spots in the East, like, Jesus, the bar's low.
Nobody wants them.
Get in there.
Nobody fucking wants them.
Get in there.
It's wild.
That Hall of Fame thing you're talking about reminded me of this video I did. Is probably running on like 2.5 years ago now, where I said current active NHL players who are going to make the Hall of Fame, and I like listed every active Hall of player in the NHL who I can put in the Hall of Fame. Guarantee today, if they retired, they're going in the Hall of Fame. And I, doing all that research for that list and everything, I realized every Norris Trophy winner has made the Hall of Fame except for Randy Carlyle. Every single one on that list that's currently eligible for the Hall of Fame except for Randy Carlyle.
Wow.
And that streak is about to be broken again. Do you know who is going to be the next Norris Trophy winner to not make the Hall of Fame? Because this player came in my discussion, and I said, well, he's not currently active anymore, but he has the trophy, and everybody on the list has a trophy, but he's going to be number 2 all time.
PK
Subban. Oh. And that was like a little thing I had in the video about like, hey, because I didn't have him on my list because he wasn't active technically. He was in between the retirement phase at the end of New Jersey and all that. But he's going to become the second Norris Trophy winner of all time to not make the Hockey Hall of Fame. And if you go down the list of the guys who have won it recently too, all of those are going to make it. Like Chara's not in there yet. He's going to be in there.
Weber
Keith is going to, Doughty, Weber,
Carlson,
all of the ones, Quinn Hughes, projected out, probably going to be in there. All the guys, Adam Fox even. But we'll see how his career goes.
He's got a lot of career left.
But PK, we can guarantee, is number 2.
Wow.
Yeah. So I thought I just want to bring that up because I thought that was interesting.
You're about to get ripped on his Instagram, by the way. He's going to do why Jesse Blake is wrong and I will make the Hall of Fame by PK Subban.
Prove me wrong, Mr. Purnell Carl.
The bar for having a short career and still making the Hall is insane.
Yeah.
You're talking Peter Forsberg, Pavel Bure, Eric Lindros, Bobby Orr, Mike Bossy. Like it's a very insane standard.
When you think of like no cups, not multiple trophies, not So I thought that was interesting. We can leave it there. Let me ask one more question. Sure. I had one more question in front of me. I'm gonna ask it before I say leave it there. This is from Natasha. We all know Steve did a dang-its for NHL plays. But if you had to create a list of Steve's top 5 dang-its for LFRs or any of your own videos, what would it be? What's on that list?
Nick Robertson is a forward.
Oh, that was a good one.
Is a defenseman, rather. Has to be
It's probably
there.
one.
It's got to be one. Mistakes.
When you get to the point where you've created that much content, it's kind of hard to remember it all.
People.
That's what it is. It's not that we haven't made mistakes. It's like, I can't remember. Like, I have no idea.
People show me clips from my videos.
Yeah.
At these book signings, and I'm like, I don't remember doing that.
Yeah.
I remember doing that. I remember saying that. And it's funny. I get to watch it like everyone else. I go, what a psycho. Because I don't remember saying it. Shoot. Yeah, I'm a bit stumped here, fellas.
Yeah.
You got one of the 5.
Also, why is it
I
always
just
a
make
top
some-
5? Can it be a smaller, like a top 3? Maybe what's your one mistake?
I feel
5 of them?
I feel like I make a lot of cutesy,
How about this?
A lot of cutesy mistakes.
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Because we have people who've watched in 20 years worth
Yeah.
of Steve Dangle. Let us know in the comments if you had to make a Steve's dang-its from his own videos, what would make it? So there you go. How about that? And then I'll do this next press conference tomorrow.
There was one that I still remember, and this is season 18. It was from season 1 that I still remember. I went on this rant. I think it was about Jonas Frogren because the Leafs only played him like 3 minutes. And I was like, what is the point of even having this guy in the lineup? Play him more or scratch him and blah, 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 blah. And the first comment is just like, Steve, you got hurt in the first period.
Oh my God.
All right. That's good. I like that.
That might make it.
That might make it. I'm sure there's better ones.
SDP will be back tomorrow. Got another one tomorrow.
Yeah.
Some more of this. There was like 1 or 2 games yesterday, and there's like 40 billion tonight. So there'll be a lot to talk about. I'm excited. See you then.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at AdamWYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.